How about now? How about now? I don't know why it changed. I do not know why it changed. So this would be a Monday for sure. All right. So can you hear me now? God bless America. Okay. So tell you what, since that first 5 minutes was basically a waste, how about this? Take two. It's on the wrong audio setting. I didn't touch it. I don't care what anybody says. I didn't touch it. You know, maybe if I would just look down at the microphone and see that the microphone is actually moving, because about right here on my screen, I've got like a what you call it? I got like a VU meter, and I can see right here that the VU meter is finally moving. If I'd looked right here, then that first 5 minutes of all of you kind of sitting there going, Nelson, what's going on? That would not have happened. So Abe's going to come in here in a couple minutes. So I was discussing what we do have today. It is sound from Tristan Muyumba and Tata Martino after the match. We do have the highlight from Arif Kovac and Atlanta United 2 and Philadelphia Union 2 from the weekend. We've also got a lot of stuff to get into for soccer over there tonight. 9:30 is the last, I think it's the last promotion game in England, Notts County and Salford City, and I do have a Paramount Plus question coming up in a bit. What could happen on SOT? Netherlands goal, winning goal in penalties. We've got the W League. We had a goalie goal there, which probably could be opening kickoff if I hadn't screwed up the first 5 minutes of the show. Bolton and Hull City getting promoted. Second-tier team in Portugal winning over Sporting to go into the Europa League and win the Portuguese Cup. Got a lot of stuff out of Italy. Torino, Juve, Napoli. We got Riquelme to get into. We've got Belgrano winning in Argentina and all the things. So Abe's coming up here in a bit. We've got post-game from yesterday. We've got Bart coming in at 10. We'll discuss Women's Champions League. We will discuss CONCACAF W because folks are torn as to whether or not they thought that it was cool that you had so many goals or it was chaos and people were clicking off because there were so many goals. We'll get into that with Bart. I do have one play in particular for cards and calls, and we'll get into that with Bart as well. We're saving the U.S. alleged roster discussion until like 10:20 because then Maddie will be joining us, and it'll be a discussion. A, did they allegedly get it right? A, where are the alleged holes? And all that stuff. So we've got that to get into this morning, all on the show now that you can actually hear me. God bless America. It's a Monday. All right. So opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee, blackpitchcoffee.com before Abe joins us here coming up in a bit. And for Black Pitch Coffee, once again, we start your day, the most important stories in the game, right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy-bodied, notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Guillermo Rife and Paul Belus at The Athletic. Luis de la Fuente has named Spain's squad. No Real Madrid players included for the first time in the tournament's history. Lamine Yamal set for his competition debut. Athletic reported the omission of Dean Houston earlier today, later confirmed by the Spanish Football Federation, meaning for the first time in their 92 years of competing at the World Cup, Spain's squad will not feature any players from the country's most decorated club. That's Belus and Rise wording. So Yamal is going to his first World Cup, expected to miss the side's opening match against Cabo Verde because of the hamstring injury, for the second group match with Saudi Arabia. Gavi is included after returning from 7 months out with a knee injury in March, starting 7 of Barcelona's final 8. Mikel Merino also selected, having returned to action during the final game of the season following 4 months out with a foot injury. Pau Cubarsí and Eric Garcia, Atletico de Madrid's Marc Pubil, and Athletic Club's Aymeric Laporte have been selected ahead of Houston at center back. Atletico's Robin Lenormand also misses out. Pubil, 22, received his first senior call-up. Cubarsí will go to his first major tournament. Garcia returns to the squad, having most recently represented in 2022. Nico Williams missed the final 3 matches of Atletic's season with a hamstring injury, expected to be fit for the World Cup. Named. Hasn't hit previous years' 6+3 and 25 appearances in an injury-filled campaign, and 17th World Cup appearance for Spain. Did not take any Real Madrid players to the 2020 Euros, but there were 3 reps in the country's Euro 24 winning squad. The departing Danny Carvajal, who did not make Spain's provisional World Cup squad after his last 2 seasons. Nacho and Joselu have since left the club. Spain once again, Cabo Verde, Saudi Arabia, Uruguay in their group, and they will be practicing and based at the Baylor School in Chattanooga. So then there is a free, I think you've got to get a lottery ticket. You can apply for a ticket to go see that practice on the 6th of June. And you can do 2 things that night, actually. If you go to Chattanooga and you win the lottery to go and see the Spanish national team open practice at the Baylor School, that starts at 6. After that, you can go and check out Chattanooga FC because they start at 7, and that comes from our friend Gabe Schrei, who said that 7 o'clock is when Chattanooga FC starts their matchup. And let me double check and see if it is at the if it's at Fort Finley or if it's at the baseball stadium with the newly christened and minted Chattanooga Lookouts. So hang on just a second. June 6. No, it's at Finley. Okay. So, and it is, by the way, it is Margaritaville Night and Run and Scenic City Night on June 6th, by the way. 6/6/26 at Finley Stadium is Chattanooga and Red Bulls. That starts at 7:03. So if you wanted to make a full day of it, if you win the lottery, because you have to apply. So you apply to win the lottery to get into Spain's opening practice. And then from there, you go and when it's over, then you go over to Fort Finley and you see Chattanooga FC and Red Bulls 2 at 7. So that's your Saturday, by the way. That is your Saturday with that is the idea for what's going on. All right. Ricky's like, I really don't see how Gonzalo Garcia isn't in the team, and feels like he was deserving but surprised. And so last Spain squad, I think we answered that question. So it was a handful of years ago, but there we go. Morning, Lokeville. Morning, Michael. And morning, Gilberto Rivera. Gilberto, this is the first time you've been here. So thanks for letting me know I didn't have any audio because I'm an idiot. All right. So morning, Gilberto. Morning, Michael. Morning, Lokeville. Morning, Ricky. And morning, Abby. And there we go. So those are the folks that are in early this morning. And there's something flying around in here. Okay. Second question for you, which is opening kickoff. And it's a Paramount Plus question. I am camped out. I'm camped out here waiting for, and I know that this will shock you, Sicko's Delight. I'm camped out waiting for Notts County and Salford City to start at 9:30. Well, it starts at 10, but I think coverage starts at 9:30. So do you, and this is, like I said, and I'm trying to figure out if this is me, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's just me, or if it is more than just me. I've got Paramount Plus for all of the soccer. And my question is, I have not, Abby, I have not gotten my email from the powers that are and about credentials. I have not. And so traditionally what I end up doing is I'll check usually once a day. And I think what they did is they started everybody who had to travel the furthest distance. They were the ones who got notification first so they could plan. And from there, they're kind of like closing the distances because I'm starting to see some Canadian outlets, with folks and Canadian credentials and all that kind of stuff. So I think what they did is they started from like Antarctica and worked their way closer to the United States. I think the U.S. folks, since we're local and we don't have as much that we have to do, hotels, flights, whatever, That I think is the early. That's the way that they let folks know. And as a matter of fact, let me double check here this morning. So, let's see. So I'm going to do my morning check and see if I have my Orlando Pride San Diego Wave notification. So I've got that, and let's see. So let me check here because they always say, okay, you're supposed to check the app as well. So the app is loading, and every single time, don't tell me that I've got to log in. So yes, I'm trying to sign into Media Hub. Log into my account. You're going to send me my email with my 8-digit code. Yes. Jeez, Louise. Come on, people. All right. So it's thinking, but I would imagine since I haven't gotten my confirmation email, I'm still just listed as registered. So, yeah, Abby's like, okay. So I will double check. Morning, David. Morning, Abby. And so I'm going by email and app. So I'm still registered officially. That's the latest from our friends at FIFA. Okay. Abe is here. Abe is here. Abe is here. Abe is here. And I'm guessing it was because somebody needed to go outside and was lollygagging. So was someone lollygagging? Was that why?
No, I got caught in a run and ended up running longer than I expected to.
Is that good or bad?
And then it was a tough coming back up a hill on the way to the car. So it was a rough go.
So
I'm still like drenched in sweat. So
it doesn't matter. It's sports.
I put in more effort just in the last hour 10 than some of those guys last night, I think.
Oh, I needed a rim shot for that one. Now that, and I know that you and Maddie got the chance to talk about it after the match, but now that you had a night to sleep on it, obviously from an effort standpoint, the second 45 better than the first 45, but in the first 45 minutes was when Columbus scored their first 2 goals, and you lose by 2, and now you're in the break with everybody else, and you get a little time to rest and think about it, but there's a lot to think about.
Yeah, and I guess we can take it from the macro version is that you've played 14 games now, and they have not gone well. But there are 20 remaining. And so as frustrating as it's been, and it has certainly been frustrating, you have over half of a season remaining and a transfer window coming. And so, again, I'm not sitting here pretending they're going to turn things around and become contenders here in the second half, but can you put together something to build upon for the sprint season and figure some things out here? Potentially. I mean, that's what you have to look for. I certainly think there will be changes. To who or how many, it's still unknown. There are some very glaring issues that I think you have. And I think we ran into one more last night, and that is a return to that left attacking spot being a problematic no-show. Luke Brennan was invisible that game. And so this was something we had discussed last season and the year before, John, about what are we doing up top left. And Miggy, I don't think has been the answer there. And so I think we're back to that, unfortunately.
Yes, proper hydration. Yes. Okay, so you go sky blue. Okay, so I was
some sort of Gatorade powder or something. I don't know.
Just checking. How you go macro here, and I'll continue the macro discussion. So, how busy do you anticipate it being? I mean, obviously, you
got to find buyers, man, and I'm worried you can't. I think that's what it really boils down to. You have to move off of, I'll just be honest, you got to move off of Latte Loft and you got to move off of Miggy if you can. You got to open up 2 DP spots. I just think that's the long and short of it. Best case scenario, Miggy somehow balls out in the group stage against the U.S. men's national team and against the rest of the group and tricks someone into, being interested. Latte Loft is just like, you're going to take a hit. Right. There's no recouping. Just be prepared to take a hit and be okay with it. I think it starts there. All the other moves you're going to make, impact is going to be minimized. It's not that there won't be any impact. You can improve and you can do certain things, but I've said this before with you. Every team in MLS is going to be as good or as bad as their 3 designated players are. And right now, 3 of your designated players, 2 of them are complete no-shows, irrelevant. And you can't win in an extended stretch like that. So I would start with trying to move Miggy and Lotte.
Mm-hmm.
All the rest of the guys, if you think you can improve somewhere, that's fine. But, I don't even know where you start, to be honest.
Well, if you go there, Miggy right now under contract through 27, and there is an option year for 28, but contract through 27, Lotte contract through 28. So in addition to the price tags, you have those years that are left in the contract to sit there. And if this is a direction that you can try and go, looking worldwide, okay, I've still got a year here. I've still got 2 years here that I have to negotiate on all of this. You do have a U22 slot available. So if you wanted to bring in a U22, then that gives you your third U22 to help you out there, and it won't kill your cap, because right now your GAM number in March, I think, was at like $340,000 in GAM left. So you've got to move a lot of the heavy freight to try and help you out to get more GAM, and the idea is to do cash deals, because that is the immediate impact when it comes to Major League Soccer. If you get cash for players as opposed to swaps or what have you, that helps out your GAM, and that can boost what you're looking for to try to bring players in. Just the machinations of the salary cap, I think, are going to be something that we're all going to have to study here coming up in the break and in the transfer window.
Yeah, I mean, look, when it comes to Lotte, you're just going to have to take the hit. I think you have to be understanding. You're not going to get a solid offer. And I had the question of, I was talking with Maddie off air during the game yesterday. Are there some moves that for players you like that maybe are unexpected that get done when the window opened? I think we all love Cooper Sanchez, but I think if you get the right offer for him, I think you have to move him as well. And when I say the right offer, I'm talking about significant money to go to Europe. And I don't know if he's there yet because of a smaller sample size, but at his age and what he's doing on the pitch, I do start to wonder if a European team comes calling. And I think at that point you have to listen on guys like him or Jay Fortune, who I know is running out of contract soon. Yeah. And you'll probably try to find a way to redo that. But if there are offers, and I mean significant offers, I don't mean moving them. So this is not Efren Morales, Noah Cobb type stuff, decisions that have to be made. I'm talking about significant offers from Europe. I do wonder if you're listening on that as well.
Just to let everybody know where Cooper is concerned, once again, after this season, he's got 2 option years. And with Jay, you are correct. Jay is out of contract this season, and there are no options after this. So Jay is a contract decision that has to be made. Cooper, although I vehemently disagree with you about the Cooper Sanchez idea, just for the sake of letting
it's got to be a massive offer. I'm talking about the top team or the top leagues. Yeah. I'm not talking about moving him to the championship or Serie B or any, I'm talking about something significant. I don't expect something that serious would come, but I do think you have to listen if it were to present itself.
Yeah. Just to give you ideas of the contracts that are immediate that have to be thought about. Baracall is on loan through June of 26. Then you have to come up with an idea if you want to renew, and I think that there are option years all the way through 29. Saba's out of contract this year. Tristan has an option year for next year. Same with Pedro Amador. Same with Ronald Hernandez. Jaden Hibbert has option years 27 and 28. Lucas Hoyos has options for sprint season and then 27 and 28. Fafa Pico has a sprint season option June of 27. Same with Sergio Santos. Cayman Togashi is out of contract after this season. Matt Edwards in the homegrowns, out of contract, option year for 27. Santi Pita, 3 option years after this year. Will Riley, 2 option years after this year. Ashton Gordon, 2 option years after this year. So those are the decisions you have, and there are a lot of decisions to make.
Yeah, and it's really about figuring out who we've seen this season that you think is just legitimately part of your core. Mm-hmm. And the way I thought last night's midfield is potentially close to your first choice midfield. I thought Jay on one side, Cooper on the other, and Muyumba involved as well is pretty. If this is the formation you're running and are planning to stick with a 4-3-3, those three guys are pretty close to it. I've always kind of been wishy-washy on what you're doing with your center backs. I've always liked Mihai and Gregerson. I know you've got Barakal, and that, like you said, that's running out of contract. Is that something you need to re-up? But I think your midfield is strong, especially if you include Alexi as part of that midfield and make it 4. I mean, you could do whatever you want with the attackers up top. You could completely exchange Saba and whoever else is up there. And on the, I thought Baez and Jacob have been very good. So I don't really feel like we need to necessarily change your outside wing backs either. So, I mean, it's tough because you look at it and I've just sat here and be like, oh, I feel pretty good with, 9 of 11 or 8 of 11. I don't really, not overly concerned with the keeper situation.
Yeah.
I would have been playing Hibbert from the start. I've already said that, but, you got to get better up top or up top on the wings, whatever it's going to be. You have to bring someone in that can be dangerous and score because you're just not competitive and really haven't been. Another situation where the XG is way off compared to the 0 actual goals. So
yeah, and you mentioned if you're satisfied with 7 or 8 of the 11, those 3 that you're not satisfied with are the ones that you need the most return from, if that's the word you want to use. You've got 8 that you're cool with, but the 3 that you're not, those are the ones that have the highest level of expectation, and you're trying to have them kind of help push you forward in all of this.
Yeah, again, you're talking about replacing or whatever your 2 most expensive players,
right.
The guys that you are paying to count on to create attacks and score goals, and they haven't done that. And so, yeah, you have to find new ones, and the only hope is you can find new ones with the proper price tags. Because if you go in bargain bins, to try and find someone to score goals for this team who's not a designated player, it's a tough go on that. And you just got to find ways to move off of these guys if you're gonna improve the final 20 game stretch. I don't know how else to say it. Like I just don't think you can bring Miggy and Latte Loth back and expect the next 20 to be any different than this past 14 this season.
When you look at the Eastern Conference, just in general, this is the 30,000 foot question. When you look at the Eastern Conference, what has surprised you, and it can be good or bad, and what did you, when you put your hermetically sealed envelope in the ground in the lockbox and you buried it at the beginning of the season, if we open that time capsule up now, what were you right on? And what, when you look at the Eastern Conference or Major League Soccer in general, what has surprised you this season, good or bad?
I think the surprises, I'll go too good and too bad, and they're kind of just in general form. Mm-hmm. But I mean, Philadelphia, Columbus have been 2 of the top 5 teams for a number of years, and they're just not this year. Yeah. Now Columbus is cleaning it up a little bit more, but Philadelphia just being significantly the worst team in the Eastern Conference a couple of months after winning the Supporter Shield, right? So that's quite the fall from grace. Mm-hmm. And then as those 2 teams have fallen, someone has to replace them. I just don't know if I would have counted on that being Chicago and New England. I just think that especially New England, who, I mean, we've been talking for years now about, oh, it's so great to watch Carlos Gil. It's unfortunate he's all they got. He's no longer all they got. And so they're playing really good. And then, Chicago's just kind of been middling, not overly relevant. And they were not good last season. And they've obviously found something and made it work this year. So as 2 have fallen, 2 have risen. And those are the big surprises. Obviously Atlanta being this bad is a surprise.
Yeah.
I didn't think they'd necessarily be great, but I didn't think they'd be this bad either. So you obviously planned on getting Tata up and running and thought he would have a bigger impact. And maybe Miggy could rediscover himself under him, or maybe Latte Loth with a different offseason schedule would look a little bit better, but that has not been the case.
What is more frustrating to you from Atlanta United? Is it the lack of goals on offense, or trying to prevent goals on defense?
It's the lack of goals on offense. We saw Miami last night. I mean, if you score some goals, you can give up some trash, right? I mean, you know what I mean? Like they were down 3-1, 18 minutes, 17 minutes, whatever it was. It was like an irrelevant scoreline. It was like the bottom of the first inning trailing 2-0. You're like, who cares, man? Like, we'll get to their bullpen. It'll be fine.
Clavin gave up 2 in the first.
It was irrelevant. A buddy texted me, like, Miami's not looking good. I tune in and it's 3-1. And then we do one segment of the post-game show. I look back and it's 4-3. Like, what the heck was that? I mean, so look, if you could score goals, you could make mistakes on the back end. And I think that was the plan for this team. And you look at the contracts and where the money is devoted, that's where it's being spent, on scoring goals. And you're not doing that. I just think so many things would change if this team could scare anyone in terms of their attack. I think the inability to score goals has helped lead to so many different things. Teams being able to press you, the defensive line of the opponents being able to play higher up the field, continually reset balls into the attack, just a variety of things, because you just don't scare anyone. And then certainly when you go down 1-0 or 2-0, it feels half the time like the game's over. Didn't feel like that in Miami. And look, I know not every team in MLS has Lionel Messi. I understand that, but it just feels like at 1-0 the game's over, and at 2-0 you can kiss any hopes of a comeback goodbye. And not every team in MLS feels that. Some teams are able to score goals and knows that they can recover from mistakes. And it's tough because it feels like you have to play mistake free if you're not going to find the first goal. And obviously there were multiple mistakes leading to that first goal yesterday from Columbus. I don't have as much of a problem with the second goal. But the first goal, you had a bad free kick followed by the inability to foul or win a challenge, followed by and I think it's tough to ask Tristan, but he was just a half step slow getting there as well. And then the 4-on-1s there. And, what are you supposed to do at that point?
Yeah. Make yourself as large as possible if you're Lucas Hoyos and see if you have a moment there.
Yeah. Honestly, I thought Hoyos was not great on the second goal. I thought that goal beat him. It got under him. He should have gotten down. It didn't go around him. It got under him. Look, again, I'm not going to shout from a rooftop about his performance in that. It was far from his issue, but I think it was Jacob that had come over to defend the shot because Barakal was caught up and Mihai got pulled.
Yeah.
So everyone was kind of shifted.
Yeah.
And in my purview, I thought that Jacob was actually defending the pass. I thought he was making sure, because if he commits to the shot and the pass goes, there's a guy just wide open on the backside there, and that's a goal as well. I thought he was defending pass, giving Hoyos a chance, and I thought Hoyos screwed that one. I don't think that shot was quite good enough to beat him. I thought he should have gotten to it, but whatever. You were already down 1-0. It didn't matter too much either way.
Yeah. So we now get to keep an eye on everything else here in the window. Are you?
And let me just remind people, because we looked this up. The timeline is tough with this window. And maybe you could come to a number of like pre-agreements, but you return on July 17th to action that Friday night against Nashville. I think that window opens that Monday, July 13th. So like, I'm not expecting, and it's open until early September, I believe. I'm not expecting like 5 guys out, 5 guys in for that first game at Nashville. I think it's just going to be the start of the movement. And I think there's going to be a lot of pieces and guys that may have to sit out because they're in the process of being moved, or guys that have been moved that you haven't acquired them yet. They haven't cleared visa. They haven't done all that crap. So it's weird because it's so close to your return to play. I don't know how much will actually be new incoming pieces ready to go that first match back.
Yeah, Monday, July 13th is the opening of the secondary transfer window, and it is from July 13 to September 2. It is I think it's the largest window that has ever existed when it comes to transactions. So if you were to get everything squared away, in a world of worlds and everything was perfect, and that secondary window opens, you come up with all your pre-deals and everything, and then at like midnight or whenever, everything starts rolling. You would have only had, if everybody was to show up on your doorstep first thing Monday morning, like 8:30, that check the key card, no, the security's got to let you in. You're looking at 2.5 days to sit there and get acclimated before you hop on a flight and go to Nashville for their matchup on the 17th. So there really isn't a whole lot of time, even if you got everything squared away properly.
Yeah, so it's just a reminder that first couple of matches, that transfer window is going to be a work in progress. It is not going to be, hey, we return to train and it's a whole new squad. It's going to be little by little, bit by bit. But again, you do have 20 matches, and that's not an insignificant number. Again, there's more matches on the back end than there are the front end here. And the compression is going to be real as well. I almost feel a little bit bad for Fox. I'm assuming our Friday night game is going to be on Fox, coming into the World Cup final 2 days prior. They just had Philly and Miami last night, and that's probably what they're hoping for that Friday night. I hard pressed to say they're going to get 6-4 result line, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Yes. So Inter Miami won the first set holding serve. And so now we go to the second set and we'll see what happens there. As always, my friend, thank you for making sure that you could come up Heartbreak Hill and come in and race in and catch up with us as you always do on Mondays. We'll do it again next week and we'll take the tour and see what's going on.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I think next week will be our last time doing this before we have World Cup matches. If my timeline in my head works, I might be a day or two off, but either way, we'll start to get into that. Looking forward to it. So absolutely.
As always, my friend, and I know that Chipper's going to sit there and go, dude, can you give me practice?
Oh, she's staring at me right there. She is right there looking at me. So
and go sit, go pay attention to the boss. We'll see you next week.
You got it, John. Thanks.
There he goes, Abe Gordon, because we know how this works in our households. We absolutely know how this works. And yes, Abe is correct. The July 17th match is Fox. It is Big FOX. It is Apple, and it is Fox Deportes. So, yes, July 17 is slated to be an Atlanta-Nashville game on Big FOX. And Ricky, yes, to reemphasize the point that you brought up, it is something that you have to look at. And it is, you can't do in this secondary window that's coming up. You cannot, I don't think it's physically possible, but even if everything was to come together and you had this amazing pre-window and you were ready to go in like midnight, July 13th, if you think of it like baseball free agency or football free agency, where literally everybody's got the pre-deals and then you hit midnight, and then or hockey free agency, literally it's like you hit midnight and then bang. And if everything was to come together in the most perfect of worlds and you got it all squared away, you've got to remember, and like I said, Ricky reminds us of the point that Jason made on the air last night. You've got 2 years to think about here, because you have this season, the secondary window, the conclusion of this year. Then you have the sprint season. Then you have the calendar flip. So you're looking at technically 3 separate seasons that you're looking at. 1 full season, the half of this season, and the sprint. So 2.5 seasons of activity that you have to think about. So you've got to come up with all of your lists and your projections and all this kind of stuff, and you've got to figure this out for not just this year, But the sprint schedule, and you got to see with Atlanta United where there were a couple of contracts that were lined up into covering sprint seasons and the calendar flip. The sprint season is its own competition, remember. So you have the 26 season to think about, the sprint season in 27, and then the calendar flip season where we're on the Julian calendar for soccer going forward. So you have to think about 3 separate seasons this season to set you up for the sprint, to set you up for 27, 28. So that's kind of what you're staring at. So it is a dance of 3 dimensions that Atlanta United has to do. I specifically, I'm not a fan of sending away Cooper Sanchez and Jay Fortune and all of that. I mean, yes, somebody could wander up to the table and give you the 8-figure transfer fee or whatever for somebody. But right now, I still think that the homegrown still have a whole lot of promise. I'm not the fan of sending them on their way. Once again, the homegrown specifically, you're looking at Matt Edwards once again, contract renewal this year, option year 27. Jay's out of contract. For me, I'm like, sign him, just, get that done, and then work from there. Adrian Gill is signed through June of 27, so he is signed specifically through the sprint season. And so then you're looking at 3 seasons after that, after the sprint season for Adrian Gill. So Adrian Gill comes in, and then it's 27, 28, the flip, and then the 2 after that. Santi Pita, once again, 3 option years after this year. Will Riley's got 2 option years after this year. Cooper Sanchez has 2 option years after this year. So that's your homegrown situation. I'm like, hang on to him. I mean, yeah, it is. And that also comes from my looking at things through my twos lens and seeing how they continue to grow and evolve, and how I'm anticipating them becoming more and more first team minutes like we've seen with Will. But first and foremost for me, you look at the roster profile, and I'm looking at the roster profile from March the 1st. Jay Fortune out of contract after this season. That one for me is like circle. That is underlined, highlighted, exclamated, italicized, boldface. Lock that down. And then the questions are, and you had an international slot available to you, and I think that was the Galarza slot when he came in, and now you get that back because I'm not anticipating that loan to be renewed. So you'll have an international slot available to you in this window coming up. You have a U22 slot available in this window coming up. And obviously you're looking at what changes you think you can make. And I know that we all have our lists and such. But I'm going to look at it first and foremost from the contract perspective. And yes, I know that numbers on the field are a part of this equation, but you look at it from a bunch of different ideas, and you try and figure out, okay, assets and all of that. And Abby, just so you know, Lucas Hoyos is under contract through this year, and he has options for the sprint season and the first full season after that. So that's the Lucas Hoyos conundrum. So after the match yesterday, you had Tristan Muyumba and Tata Martino break things down for everyone, the assembled media. So here is part of that conversation that they had. We'll start with Tristan, and these are the questions that Jason asked Tristan after the match, once again, courtesy of Atlanta United. So this is Tristan Muyumba after the match yesterday.
When you look at that second 45, I agree. It was much better outshot than 14-3, but not clear chances, not big chances as Opta would score. What do you see as the missing element to take control and good chances being created to creating bigger, clearer chances?
I don't know. Yeah, I think he may be a lack of confidence through because of the situation we have we are. So yeah, it may be the lack of confidence, and sometimes we are not sharp enough to hurt the opponent and to make the difference. It's difficult just to say one things, but yeah, we have to keep working hard, and for sure we have to be better because this club deserve more. This club deserve to be, for me, higher in this league, and spending a second years without being in the top 8 or playing the playoff, for me is not possible. So we will find a way to improve. We will find a way to to get better and to make the playoff, because it's not possible for this club.
How important is this 15-day break before the team returns to training to hopefully kind of rebuild some of that confidence and just get better mentally for everybody?
I think mentally and physically it may help, but if we don't come back with another mentality, with another mindset, it will stay it will still the same. So we have to recognize the situation, to look at ourselves in the mirror, and to do the best we could to be better. Yeah, but we are in good hands. I believe Tata is doing a good job with even through the results we get. He's doing a good job, and yeah, so.
Tristan Muyumba after the match yesterday. And so since he mentioned Tata Martino, here is part of the post-game press conference involving Tata Martino after the match, where he was asked about I believe it was the first goal, but here's part of that conversation once again, courtesy of Atlanta United.
We'll start with the first 30 minutes or so. Columbus kept the ball, and
Yeah.
Atlanta couldn't get it. What was going wrong in that moment, in your opinion?
Creo que fuimos muy pasivos. Nos faltó mayor intensidad para friccionar, para anticipar, para que ellos no jueguen con comodidad. Y creo que sí, a partir del minuto 30 empezamos a crecer con no tanta profundidad. Y ya el segundo tiempo jugamos un partido como un equipo que entiende que tiene que venir a protagonizar y no hacer sparring.
I think the first 30 minutes we were too passive. We lacked the intensity to be aggressive enough, to have the conflict to confront the true players. I think the last 15 minutes of the first half were a little bit better, but couldn't find the attacking space that we wanted to. But in the second half, we were a team that looked like we wanted to find the protagonism again.
The first goal that they scored on the Atlanta set piece, in those moments, and it's happened multiple times this season on attacking set pieces where the other team has been able to break, how do you want that to be played differently besides just better service?
En el primer gol de ellos, que viene de una pelota para de nosotros, ¿qué quieres ver en esas jugadas que ha pasado unas veces este año, que el equipo puede armar una contra?
Y lo que me gustaría ver es una ejecución acorde. Es decir, contra eso es muy difícil. Es cierto que después ahí tenemos dos opciones de recuperar la pelota, una a través de Saba, otra a través de Tristan, y ninguna de las dos veces pudimos recuperarla y ya después nos atacaron en superioridad numérica. Pero bueno, normalmente sucede que en una mala ejecución de pelota parada es muy probable que el rival te haga daño.
Yeah, what I'd like to see on those is just the right execution. I think, that's one where we had two, after the free kick, we had two chances to recover the ball and didn't do it. First by Salva and another chance from Tristan. What I'd like to see is good execution. Many times when you don't execute on a set piece, the other team is able to find an opportunity like that.
Just one more from me. Looking ahead to the final 20 games after the World Cup, what, if you could put it down to one thing that you think needs to be better in this team to get better results, what would you like to see? What is it?
A ver, Justin.
Sí, mirando a a los partidos que quedan después del parón del Mundial, si podrías elegir una cosa que querías mejorar en el equipo, ¿qué sería?
Me gustaría no cometer tantos errores.
I'd like to not make so many mistakes.
Tata Martino after the match, and he's obviously not by himself in that. Final stats, I know that Abby had asked about shots. 14 shots for Atlanta, 2 on target, 8 blocks. Depending on who your stat folks are, it's either 7 or 8. And there was also a deflection in the second half that was another shot on target that would have been had it made its way through. It went off of Sergio Santos. So if you look at the 14 shots, 2 on target, that leaves you with 12. Then you had 7 or 8 blocks, which leaves you with 4 or 5. Then you have the deflection, so 3 or 4. So 3 or 4 off target that are listed as off target or not on goal that were not impacted by the defense of Columbus. And so Columbus had 11 shots on their own, 4 on target. And the defense at times, the positioning that we saw from Columbus, there was the one sequence. I know that I think there was 3 in back-to-back possessions. 4 happened within a couple of minutes of each other. So, and I know that will add to the levels of frustration across the bow for everybody. So, that's the kind of the basic numbers. Once again, at the end of the day, you're looking at a number at the first goal, which went waist high into the wall for Columbus, creates a transition opportunity the other way. And I mean, foul, people. Seriously, foul. Grab, bump, whatever. Grab, bump, boom, go. And that didn't happen. And because you had committed so many resources forward, then once again, when Columbus comes out in transition, it's 4v1, 4v2, and you're asking a lot of your keeper in that situation. Second goal was, for me, and I know that in Abe's mind, he has it playing in one way. I was looking at it as great work by Rossi to kind of swing around Jacob, who had kind of screened Hoyos, and Hoyos is kind of working his way to the left as Rossi and Jacob are working their way to Hoyos' left. So further and further away, and you're trying to take away the short side, and it was a great command by Rossi. So that's one where you sit there and go, I thought that Hoyos was partially screened, and the ball's working away from you as you're going to the left. So that's what I was looking at with the 2 goals on the board. Okay. I could filibuster until the top of the hour. But I don't know. I mean, and because he had threatened to have champagne. He had threatened to have champagne. I don't know what's in his Arsenal mug per se, but we will certainly find out. Bart Keeler is here. What is in your mug, sir?
Celebration beverage, John.
Okay.
A celebratory beverage.
Just checking. I just figured I would ask it that way. You know, what is in the mug? The mug and the jersey, understandably so. So you are officially you and your Arsenal are officially the champs of the Premier League, and you've you won it all, and you had 9 changes on the match day last. and you still are taking care of business. How does it feel 22 years after your last one?
It does feel like I'm vindicated. So when I started supporting Arsenal, I will say,
Okay.
not that I'm a glory hunter, that's not the reason, but it was in their last title winning season. It just so happened that was the first year we got Fox Soccer or Fox Sports World on the DirecTV package at home. It was the first year that I had started playing. It was a year after I started playing like truly competitive travel ball, and so everyone had a team. And John, at that point in time, everyone's favorite English club was Manchester United. And I was
shocked.
like, well, I don't want to be, I didn't want to be normal like that. But
normal.
Whenever people talk about the players that made them fall in love with the game, the number one answer I always have is Thierry Henry. I have two extremes, actually. It's Thierry Henry and Zach Thornton. So that just explains where I've been on my footballing journey. But Thierry Henry was the guy who made me go, wow, this game is beautiful. And Arsenal was the team that said, wow, this game is beautiful. This is how this game is supposed to be played. And I got to watch them win in my first season really supporting the club. And by supporting, I just mean making it a point to watch the games, And since then, it's just been an evolution of pain and torment that has finally subsided. And it felt like the past couple of years, there were going to be that opportunity to turn things around, to finally get past that hump that we haven't been able to get over. But now that we have it, I think it is best encapsulated by the images and the videos of all of the people outside the Emirates, all the people celebrating every.
I wonder, the 22 years since the last title, and there were days where, if you look at the early days of the Premier League with Arsene Wenger, when he rolled over from Ligue 1, and the man had a cigarette with him on the touchline, and he's holding it down here like this, It literally, he goes from down here, and then maybe the Premier League is like, maybe we shouldn't have that on our television screens. And so Wenger was, I guess, stuck having to do stuff in the concourse and all of that. But, you go from the old traditional stadium to where you are now with the state-of-the-art stuff. And then Mikel Arteta, who I honestly thought was going to be the next manager at Manchester City, considering his tenure next to Pep Guardiola. Then he goes off, and he goes off in his own way, and he gets the Arsenal gig. And so the number one ends up knocking off his manager, where he probably learned a boatload of all the things. And so it was it was interesting to see the former number one assistant come back and for the last year for Pep Guardiola, just send Pep Guardiola on his way by finishing second. Of course, Manchester
Allegedly,
City,
reportedly,
left too many points on the board anyway. That's what I think. And so, of course, I absolutely just got destroyed in fantasy this past weekend because no one played, and I have it on my starters, and I didn't have any subs left. But
you did mention like the lineup when I saw it. I was like, oh, some boys have been celebrating.
9 changes.
16-year-olds who can't yet.
No, you get away with that one. It's like you start the 16-year-old. It was an interesting lineup, to say the very least. But no, Mazel Tov, and congratulations to you and your Arsenal. Other championship stuff that happened on the weekend. We'll stay in Europe for this next one. Barcelona and Lyon, and Barcelona, I mean, it was just I was stunned, especially in the second half. It just seemed like Barcelona found another gear, and getting the big win over Lyon in the Women's Champions League final. Once again, you get to add to their trophy case and everything, but I thought that this was going to be a lot closer than it ended up being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think this was supposed to be that heavyweight bout that people thought were going to go. What do you always say, John? 15 rounds because you're ancient. But
Yeah.
I think at this point we don't do 15.
That's 10 or 12 now. Yeah, exactly.
And it kind of, at least 12 rounds, right? And I think Lyon. Oh boy. Okay, so I think Lyon had a really good start to the game. I think that was the problem for them is they obviously put the ball in the back of the net first. Heaps is judged to be offside. She was. And I thought they had a good first half. But fortunately for them, they were not able to capitalize on the momentum they had. And once Barcelona got going, they are like the thing with defending Barcelona and defending Spain, because they're the same team. You cannot allow them to start making the short passes in your defensive third when they're that easy. And they started being able to connect some passes. They started being able to find runners on the wings that were able to then cut in. And once Barcelona see that with the fantastic pair they have in the midfield, it's going to be lights out for you, because once that lock has been, they're just able to time and time again. And that's what happened. And Lyon quite sealed the door shut after that. And Lyon is a good team, but Barcelona just proved how smart, how talented they are, and for the first time in a long time, showed how patient they can be.
What was the phrase you just said? Once the lock was picked, then what?
Once the lock was picked, they were just able to go after it. I
was looking for your sound effect. I was looking for your sound effect of. That's what
I know. I forgot what it was. I'm sorry. Now I said it.
But yeah, I mean, there.
I mean, it was. Yeah, they're good.
and it was interesting to see the ruling come out, or the news come out, that the multi-club model is not going to be accepted in women's European competitions, where you're not going to have, like, if Michelle Kang wanted to have another couple of clubs in European competitions, that's a big no-no now. They're like, no, that's not going to happen. So they're frowning upon MCOs, and at least you're getting into that discussion now, at least on the women's side, where you have that kind of investment. But Michelle Kang specifically with Lyon and her other clubs, they're going to be like, no, that's not going to happen. So she saw it with Crystal Palace and with Aries and with Eagle, and so now she gets to witness it firsthand on the women's side as it continues to evolve. Yes. Or to that point. CONCACAF W. I've seen split opinions on this. Abby, we are getting to this. We are getting to Abby's question. We are delaying on purpose. When it comes to CONCACAF W, sir, did you watch? How many of the 4 matches of the semis and the finals and the third place game did you actually watch of the tournament?
I'll be honest. I only watched the final.
Understood. I mean, I get that. Yeah.
So I did watch the highlights from the third place game, though.
Okay. So then you go in and you have these competitions as they are, and it's Liga MX versus NWSL. And the games at points were completely
other teams could qualify too.
True, but the Final Four. I mean, the last weekend, sir, is what I was. What I
The final. It always
yeah,
is.
other
Liga MX and WSL.
other teams could other teams could qualify, but by the end of it, it is Liga MX Femenil versus NWSL, and you end up with a final that was completely and totally off the rails as the most off the railest match of the weekend until, of course, you get to Inter Miami and Philadelphia. Are you of the field of, yes, this game was completely and totally crazy and I dug it, or no, this one was too much and it was completely and totally out of control? And you go from the 2 1-0 games, I think. Well, it was 4. Sorry, it was Club America had 4-1 on Gotham. Spirit beat Pachuca 1-0 on a late goal. Then you had Pachuca in the third place match beat Gotham 3-0, and Club America beats Washington Spirit 5-3 in the final. Were you of the camp of this game was crazy off the rails cool, or crazy off the rails it set the sport back? Oops.
I think I said this on the interwebs. This was not a good showing for the NWSL teams. It just wasn't.
Okay. All right.
Shout out to the Liga MX teams who do what it seems like this is just what Liga MX teams do to American teams when they come to with US-based teams when they come down into Mexico. But
right.
Look, Gotham, sure, they lost 3-0 in third place game. Does that actually matter in the grand scheme of things? Maybe not. But
yeah.
For me, it was a bit of a concern because the championship match specifically, Washington shipping 5 goals. Now the fifth was, I don't know, inconsequential, whatever. Yeah. But it was a bad defensive performance from Washington, in my opinion. That's not taking away from what Club America did because they were very good. But it seemed to me like Gotham, Tara Rudd and Esme Morgan specifically were just incapable of dealing with anything that Club America did inside the penalty area.
Oh, wow. And
if I'm Washington, that's a concern. Because with a little bit of pace and a little bit of physicality, their back line was just discombobulated. And, I think that bears out a lot of times in NWSL when you see Washington lose. It's often because they're unable to really, in my opinion, they're unable to keep strong. And I saw it again Saturday night. And that was just disappointing. But I'm also looking at it specifically from an NWSL bias. So if you don't think I'm giving Club America their flowers, that's not what it is. It's just I'm obviously looking at this from NWSL and someone who watches the league and going, man, that was disappointing.
Yeah.
But it was a highly entertaining final. I think we can say that.
Yes. Right. Yes. Yeah. And so that was kind of what I was trying to figure out here. So you had 14 shots each, 8 inside the 18 for Club America, 8 outside the 18 for Spirit. So it's interesting there. You had 4 big chances each, 14 shots each, 2 blocked shots each, 12 chances created for Spirit, 11 created for Club America. XG, if you believe in that kind of thing, was 1/3 more for Club America at 2.64 to 1.81. And I mean, it was the back and forth was just absolutely crazy. You did have 2 blocks on each side and 4 big chances on each side. So of the 7 shots or the 8 shots, 4 of them went in the net. So you're that's not a good percentage if you are
20 fouls committed by Club America, 2 fouls committed by
the
Liga MX.
Wow. So I'm not. So how many fouls total? Do they have that number? Because I'm looking at stats and it's not giving me fouls.
24. Yeah, 24.
Okay, so
and 20 of those committed by. Yeah.
Wow. Seriously. Wow, that's crazy. I did not know it was that lopsided. Along those lines, now it's time for cards and calls. And there's one particular call that I wanted to lay out with you here. And here was the call of the call, courtesy of our friends at Apple TV and Major League Soccer. And so this happened last night. And let me get the courtesy up so I don't get in trouble here. So it was to say it was crazy and the personification of this match. I don't think we're wrong in that particular characterization. So here is the call on the card, courtesy of our friends at Apple TV and Major League Soccer.
He acknowledged he actually wants them to ease up a little bit, hold on to the ball a little bit longer than normal. Today is Olaski. Oh, my goodness. St. Clair made a mess of it. Olaski's down. It's a penalty. Well, and what color will this card be?
Well, hang on a minute.
The flag was raised.
Right.
Rosendo Mendoza is having a discussion with his assistant referee right now.
Well, the first question is he inside the 18, Jake?
Right.
If he's outside the 18, it's dog sub. Okay? If it's inside the 18, now it raises the question of double jeopardy, because then does Dane St. Clair make a play on the ball? First off, he's onside. He's onside by a mile. The question is, does the foul happen? It happens inside the box. So now you can give the pen and a yellow card, and it's not a dog so moment. But if that's outside the 18, it's not a pen and it's a red.
Yes. The flag up just to notify the referee of the foul, and Rosendo Mendoza making sure the location of that foul, which then is the color of the card, which is yellow. But oh my goodness, now a penalty for Philadelphia.
Does Miami know the game started?
Philadelphia does, that's for sure.
Philadelphia does. What a moment here.
Milan Olaski to double Philadelphia's lead within 10 minutes in Miami.
And he did. But that was kind of the end of it. And it was 2-0, 3-1, and then it was bouts of crazy from there. All right, so when you hear that, and we pair it with the description, and we pair it with the video of the early one of the early moments in this match, as we walk through it, what did you, as you were kind of looking at all of the events and having to go backward here, break down what you saw here and if you thought that this was the right call?
Well, let's go to the laws of the game. Thanks to IFAB. Go to Law 12 and then subsection 4 under disciplinary action, John. Denying a goal or an obvious goal scoring opportunity. Now, I think Taylor Twellman, I do take a little bit of issue with what he said. It's still dope if it happens in the penalty area. I think he said it's not dog, so it is. Yeah. But we are allowed to give a yellow card for a dog so penalty or a red card for a dog so inside the penalty area. So you can still have dog so in the penalty area. Just because in the penalty area doesn't mean it's not dog so. So I do want to clear that up. But
yes, I
want to ask you, John.
Sure.
Before I give you my answer, if you will.
Sure. Okay.
This is the line in the laws of the game that IFAB have set forth. If the offense, this is talking about in the penalty area. If the offense was an attempt to play the ball or a challenge for the ball.
I think St. Clair was I think St. Clair was playing Olaski. He was playing Olaski and he was trying to wipe him out. I didn't think he was playing the ball.
That is my big issue here, is I do not think this was our parlance that we use. This is not a legitimate play on the ball, right? That's not what IFAB says, but for us, we say that's not a legitimate play on the ball. That's my issue here. I don't think this was a legitimate play on the ball by Dane St. Clair. Therefore, John, should be a red card.
Yep. Bang. Okay.
But it's a pink card.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it ended up.
Well, you play for Miami, so here's a beneficial ruling in your.
So you do give that.
Sorry.
You give the Herons a pink card. Okay, I see how this goes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, once again, walking everything back, everybody was looking at, you're kind of looking at events going forward. Yes, he was on. Olaski was onside. He wasn't onside by a lot. He was onside. I mean,
No.
it was not.
Onside.
Yeah, it was not as, oh my God, he's a full half body length away from the imaginary line if you were to draw it. No, Olaski was onside, but he was not onside by a lot. And I thought that Dane St. Clair was playing to wipe out Olaski from going around him to try to get a slam dunk inside the 6. Behind as St. Clair had come forward.
So there are specific
okay, go for it.
fouls mentioned, John. I do want to say this. We talk about we do actually name types of fouls in IFAB, but it just says example: holding, pulling, pushing, comma, no possibility to play the ball, etc.
Yeah.
So again, it's examples. I mean, I think we all understand holding or pulling or pulling. Those are three that are like, you're not playing the ball. We get that. Well, first off, I think he commits like a holding pulling foul. That's just, but think before that he does commit a I guess you would say charging.
It's like a hip check,
I guess, if you're being generous. But standing your ground and reaching for a player as he runs past you, to me, feels like a holding/pulling foul.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, I know I'm the authority. I just want your. I don't
want
to say
I'm
eyes, but you know what I'm saying.
By comparison, my eye is untrained. I'm looking at it more from.
But would you agree that what that action was Dane St. Clair holding and or pulling Olaski as he's running by?
I thought it was more like a hip check that could have turned into a hip lock takedown if he had used his arms. I thought St. Clair was trying to go block or charge, and I thought that St. Clair was moving to his left, and he hip checks Olaski, and Olaski ends up cartwheeling over after the impact, and I'm sure that Olaski probably there's a little bit of purchasing going on there with that particular movement.
Yes. I think St. Clair is lucky that he does make body contact with the attacker. I just have an issue because to me this was not an attempt to play the ball. It did not look like that to me.
he was playing a lot. He was playing Olaski. All right, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna look at it because I want to make sure that I'm not losing my mind. So, and I know that both networks had our friend Nate McCady had the call for where was it? So that wasn't there. Hang on. So nothing like me trying to. All right. So if I do this search, all right. So if I could spell Dane St. Clair, I'd be all right. Clair. So if I go here, then they go, okay, is this a red? So as I play it through, St. Clair is working backward inside his 18. And so Olaski is trying to loop the ball over St. Clair. He does. The ball's passed. I mean, he's not playing the ball because it goes over his head.
Yeah.
I mean, unless Dane St. Clair, so he puts his hand up. St. Clair is just inside the 18, and he puts his left hand up as Olaski is trying to go over the top with the flick. So Olaski goes over the top. Mm-hmm. St. Clair's just inside the 18. He puts his hand up. The ball is over the hand and going behind. So I'm guessing, knowing that he's in trouble, he stands right where he was. There was no attempt to go backward to try and figure out to knock the ball away from the path of Olaski. He stands still, and then he kind of grabs the left shoulder, and it looks like it's a bit of a hip check with the left knee on the left leg of Olaski. How can you play the ball if the ball has already passed you? I guess that's because the
See, John,
ball
these
is
are the
passed.
question. These are the right questions you're asking.
So, and like I said, I'm shuttling the video here. So I admit that I'm going through the Zapruder version of this, and I'm going frame by frame. Hey, maybe I could have a VAR job at some point. Third career. So Iloski with the flick over St. Clair. Ball is past St. Clair. St. Clair stands his ground, and he grabs the left shoulder, and he sticks out his left knee, and Iloski goes up and over somersault, and there's no chance. So for me, no. No. This is up and over, stand your ground, grab the guy so he doesn't get behind me, and it ends up as a that should have been. I know that you called it pink, but for me, if I'm analyzing it correctly from the eyes of our resident official here, so if I had said red because the ball,
that's just it. This was a defender, right? You're in a dog so situation. You're allowed to still make a play on either the ball or reasonably make a play on the defender or on the attacker. But when the ball is 5 yards past you while the defender or the attacker is running past you, I could not in my spirit understand why this was not a red card. And the only reason I think it was not given via VAR is because there technically is some sort of body contact between goalkeeper and attacker, and maybe saying, oh, well, the attacker ran into the defender more or ran into the goalkeeper more than the goalkeeper did anything to the attacker. Maybe.
Yeah.
But again, I'm just going to call it here, John. It's a pink card.
Okay.
I'm sorry. You're allowed to say that a team in this league that always gets away with things. You're allowed to say it. You're allowed to say it.
And that is also true. That's why we have shows like this. Okay. First and foremost, topic last. You're looking at Yanks Abroad last weekend to get everything prepped and ready, and it was an opportunity to get those last moments of stuffing the ballot box and making sure that you, sir, insert name here, would be selected for the U.S. men's national team. So AC Milan finishes Serie A 2-1 loss to Cagliari, dropping them to fifth. So they are not in Champions League. And so Christian Pulisic enters the match to start the second half. Finished the second half of the Serie A season without a goal in 16 matches after scoring 8 in 12 in the first half. So began the year 1 point behind Inter Milan, finished in fifth, 17 points behind Inter after losing 3 of its last 4. Sunday's loss allows Roma and Como, Mazel Tov Cesc Fabregas, to join Inter and Napoli in Champions League. Milan would have dropped to 6th, but Juve could only manage a 2-2 draw with Torino in the Turin derby, whose start was delayed because of a pre-match brawl among fans. So Christian Pulisic coming into camp and the alleged naming of the squad. You have Brendan Aronson getting a yellow in a 3-0 loss. Tyler Adams played 90 for Bournemouth, so Tyler Adams getting back to full speed. Jedi Robinson, 90 minutes in a yellow with the win over Newcastle. Chris Richards trying to figure out how they can do any kind of electric stimulation or whatever to try and figure out how to get him back up and running as quickly as humanly possible. And now there's the idea that the squad is already out for the USMNT, and this is alleged because there were a lot of folks that were saying that in contact with players and things like that. Hey, we know who's in and who's out, and so tomorrow afternoon, 3:00 is when the made-for-TV event starts anyway. Is when you will have in New York City the announcement of the 26-man roster for the upcoming World Cup finals. But you had, first and foremost, details leaked starting Friday night. And one major surprise, I guess, if you look at the roster as it is being divulged, disclosed, what have you. Here's the rundown as I sit here and go through all of the preparations. 3 keepers: Matt Freese, Matt Turner, Chris Brady. 5 center backs: Chris Richards, Tim Ream, Mark McKenzie, Austin Trusty, Miles Robinson. 5 fullbacks. I already heard that. Exhale, sir. Jedi Robinson, Serginho Dest, Alex Freeman, Joe Scally, Max Arfston. Central midfielders: Tyler Adams, Weston McKinney, Christian Roldan, Sebastian Berhalter. Attacking mids and wingers: Pulisic, Weah, Tillman, Reyna, Aronson, and Alejandro Zendejas. And your 3 strikers: Falarin Balogun, Ricardo Pepi, Haji Wright. So I pose the overall 30,000-foot question to you, sir. If this is, in fact, the 26-man roster, then did Mauricio Pochettino get it correct from top to bottom? And nothing like getting the USMNT bots to sit there and go, no, we're not going to have him answer the question. I think somebody tried to call him on whatever device he's on. So that is the who would you not offer a role and give one to Luna? Yeah, we did. We lost Bart. He was buffering. I don't know why. I'm guessing the cement in the building, but I think it was the USMNT folks that we were waiting for Bart's answer. You give me all of that setup, and then I'm waiting for Bart's answer. And then, of course, I'm guessing folks from New York City and from a television network decided, no, we don't want him to answer the question. So he's not going to answer the question. So after all that setup, I think either the television network that's having the made-for-TV event tomorrow afternoon at 3 or someone else decided to not let you answer, sir.
I got this thing ball of death, John. So, yeah, I don't know what they were
Yeah, so I think the TV network set for the event in New York City decided not to let you answer immediately. So when you look at the 26 names, did Mauricio Pochettino get it correct top to bottom?
No. I think that's my initial reaction to this. And it really just comes down to roster balance.
Yeah.
It comes down to balance of the roster. Depending on how you want to label players, yes,
right.
There are more than 4 midfielders. However, there are only there's only like 2, maybe 3 guys that you could call a defensive midfielder, and a couple guys who could maybe play that position with them. So I think when you just, again, look at the balance of the roster, 5 center backs, the 2 guys who are backing up Tyler Adams are, I'll just say it, uninspiring. That is a concern because we do have, I think, 2 yellow cards in 4 games is the threshold of a suspension in this competition. 4 games is the round of 16. So, would get you into the round of 16, I should say. So the 4th game is the round of 32. That is a problem. I had people say, "Oh, wow, we're getting grouped with this roster." I don't think that makes sense. But I do think that there were some players left off this roster due to look, we will get into the big event happening in where the world comes together to play for a cup of soccer championships. This group the US is in is tough, but very winnable and very manageable. I think I said that when we got the draw. You have 3 teams you've played within the past, when we play Turkey, it'll be 12 months. 2 of those games you won pretty decidedly with a say not first choice roster. The game against Turkey, you looked okay in. I mean, I think we called it a B- roster when we were talking about it at that point in time.
Right.
This roster is definitely good enough to get out of the group. But at the same time, the player pool was never good enough to go anything, to truly expect anything beyond a round of 16 game. And that's just the facts of where we are with the USMNT play. Still 16 team potential, not guaranteed. And so this roster doesn't necessarily change that. I think a lot of people have been making assumptions or making predictions or casting ill on this group of players because, you know, their favorite dude who got his nose broken isn't here. But that type of player wasn't the reason we were going to win against Paraguay necessarily or move on to the round of 16. I think that in itself is a little bit that assumption. Do you think it's fair to be concerned? Because again, there are some positional imbalances that seem self-manufactured.
So we bring in Maddy Crews into the discussion. And I know that Maddy is been having these kinds of, I'll say, discussions about this alleged roster as of tomorrow at 3:00 for the Made for TV event that's going to be on Big FOX. With this roster top to bottom, Madison Crews, did Mauricio Pochettino get it correct? Bart Keeler says no, he did not.
Listen, I feel like it's one of those situations where no matter which way it would have gone, nobody would have said he got it perfectly, just because you're dealing with so many injuries. I mean, obviously losing Johnny Cardoso is a huge loss. There are a few names I'm a little shocked that maybe weren't there. I thought Aiden Morris had a really good showing. I thought that maybe he would at least be considered. Now, I'm actually curious because I actually don't know, because I know the alleged roster that was leaked. Does that include reserves? And that's what I was curious about, because I didn't know if that was still the possibility of having, because you have 4 reserves. I didn't know what that would look like either, but I'll have to look at that later. But
the TLDR would yes, Maddie, because the 55 of like, this is the shoes for the
got it. I got you.
Is out. So like the part of that roster. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, because it's one thing for me where there are a couple names that I'm a little shocked. And listen, I know that when I say this, everyone's going to be like, well, it kind of makes sense. I am still really shocked that Gio Reyna was brought up. And it's nothing in the way, I do think Gio Reyna, when he has come out, he has had some good performances. I just think in the last year or so, I haven't seen it with the U.S. men's national team, and he hasn't been getting consistent minutes at his club level either. So for me, I would prefer consistency over the potential that you could have a player who has done really well in the past. That to me is where I have an issue with it. But again, I mean, Mauricio Pochettino has talked a lot about Gio Reyna and what he brings, especially to the team. So if Mauricio Pochettino trusts him, then he the reason he chose him there. I will say, to put him there, and I honestly would say in place of a player like Diego Luna, in my personal opinion, Diego Luna was never going to start. We all knew that. Like, for I think anyone sitting here saying that Diego Luna would have been a starter on this team, that's not what we're saying. I do think Diego Luna could have brought you something, especially off of the bench, because I do believe, and I think Jason has mentioned this, and I agree with him, in a World Cup, on a roster, you need to have one player that can change a game by themselves. Because in a knockout stage, sometimes that's what's going to happen. And right now on the U.S., I don't think you have anyone that can do that. And honestly, I thought the closest thing you might have gotten would have been Diego Luna, just because of the energy he can bring and what he already brings to you on the field. It's a weird one. And I just don't think that, for me, I'm a little shocked about it. I'm not like crazy upset about it, but I am concerned, especially with Gio Reyna, especially with not getting a lot of minutes there. And then obviously Chris Richards, who's one of my favorite players. I hope that he's good and able to and still be able to play, especially in the back line too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bart, you look at Chris Richards and that back line. If Richards, and they are rushing it. I mean, literally, they're trying to find whatever Hidden Valley, trick they can find, and electronic stimulation, and you name it. I'm guessing they're probably employing it now for Chris Richards. And we've talked about how much of an absence that is and how that reorients things. When you look at this alleged possible, probable, apparent roster, and Chris Richards, if he is ready, obviously it means one thing. With this roster as it is allegedly laid out, if Chris Richards cannot go in match number 1, then what are you looking at the back line? And I think he froze on us. I think Bart froze.
Oh no!
It's been very strange. It has been very strange. So
I heard that you had some technical issues this morning, and I said, no.
The first technical issues were mine because I didn't see that the input was incorrect for the microphone.
No.
Well, but the thing is, it's like if I don't change it, then how am I supposed to sit here and go, well, yeah, it's changed? I didn't change it. And then I'm going through the open of the show, and everybody's like, I can't hear you. And then I look at the input, and the input's changed.
Yeah.
I did not change the input on this.
Yeah.
So basically, I started the show all over again. I ran the open, and everything was fine. So
nice. Then hey, if it worked, it worked. You're good.
Yeah. So on the second take, of course, being on a Monday. But yeah, I think that the folks over at the television network that is trying to have the Made for TV event tomorrow are basically banning Bart from talking about anything USMNT. So anytime that he wants to try and have a thought about it this morning, I think that they interrupt him, and so that's why I think they're jamming his transmission. So
Oh no!
I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, no. For the U.S. team, listen, it's one where I know, especially with the alleged roster that is out, there's definitely a lot of those conversations happening with certain players. I am honestly, just because I do love Diego Luna as a player. I really like if he is not listed on there, that's unfortunate, just because I really think that he gives you, I think, that passion, and he gives you that spark. And I think in a World Cup, you need that sometimes more than anything else. I mean, these knockout rounds are no joke, guys. Like, I mean, seriously, like it is going to be like, just because you might be going up, because I was looking at it the other day. If you're going up against, like, if the US wins and they're number 1 of their group, they will face the 3rd place team of either group B, E, F, G, I believe J. That's like of all the different combinations there. But listen, some of those teams too, like even if the 3rd place teams on some of those, like, I mean, you look at Group I, that 3rd place team could be Norway or Senegal. That's not easy, not an easy team at all. And so I think for me, when you have a player that is there, I think I don't know who that would be. You need a player that can single-handedly save a game for a team in the World Cup. I think you need that across the board. I think that's what you need, because sometimes that's what's going to happen. And I just don't think this team has one.
And you heard Maddie smash her hands on the table after finishing her thought. So
that was not me. I was not.
I thought that was you with general malaise and angst over the alleged 26 person. So Bart has rebooted his computer.
Okay.
Apparently rebooted his
Hopefully.
Hey, there it is.
There we go.
Okay, so the discussion has kind of twisted to Diego Luna and the fact that he is not in this listing, Bart.
Yeah, I know it
was. In or out, and if he's out, if he's in, then who do you take out?
All right, so I'm just, so okay, I just want to say that for, like, okay, I understand why people fell in love with Diego Luna. There's no reason to not like the kid. There's no like the way he plays. There's no reason to not like broken nose, picture we got, the fire he plays with, his backstory. It is a great story. Stories do not make a World Cup roster. And I know that we wanted to see him on this roster. And I'm one of them. But I also said it in my last episode of Soccer for Us. He wasn't going to make it. I said he was down to who, as you said, John, who do you take? Because if you're looking at that position group, and I know people don't like to actually admit this, Gio Reyna is a better soccer than Diego Luna. He just is. And so then, who do you bring in to shake things up, give you a jolt? Gio Reyna. Malik Tillman is here.
When Diego Luna has more touches than Gio Reyna in a season, that's where the issue comes in for me.
I'm just going to let the two of you go.
Gio Reyna is a soccer player than Diego Luna. Gio Reyna has proven when he puts on the U.S. shirt, he is a better performer. USMNT. Look, Diego had a very fun Gold Cup summer last year. That is factual. Gio Reyna has scored and assisted in multiple CONCACAF Nations League finals. He, as much as people don't want to admit, yes, being on a club, being on the roster for a club in the Bundesliga is better than playing for an MLS team. It just is. I'm sorry. I don't make these player evaluations, but I have to trust that people at clubs at that caliber are looking at them going, yeah, this kid, we want him. They spent a decent amount of money for him as well, or on him as well, I should say.
Yeah, that's true.
That's just the reality. That doesn't mean that I don't want Diego Luna here. It's just you have Gio Reyna, you have Malik Tillman, you have Brendan Aronson, you have the one who was included, I think, over Diego Luna, Alejandro Zendejas, who is, if we care about club performance, balling out south of the border in Mexico City.
So here's my thing. Here's my thing with it all. I'm looking at Gio Reyna, his stats right now with Bundesliga right now.
If
1 goal, 0 assists,
we think that club
performance, only started 4 games.
If you're
Bart.
telling me that matters, he's time to get than MLS, and Club America is a better club than Real Salt Lake. Sorry, but they're fine margins. I'm gonna sit here and tell you I didn't want Diego Luna on this roster, and it's a little bit of Bank of America marketing schemes, and he's in the jersey release videos, but back in the World Cup squad, and I think Mauricio Poch said as much. I don't think this roster is correct. And so the other problem for me is, well, if you had included maybe another, as you mentioned, a little bit.
Maddie, continue.
Yeah, listen, I think when it comes down to World Cup and everything else, because it's 1-2 where listen, Bart, I'm in the same boat with you. It was one for me where I would have loved to have seen him, but I had a feeling he wouldn't make it. But that doesn't argue with the fact that when we have the conversation about Gio Reyna and you talk about that idea of it, you look at his performances for the USA in the last year and 2024. I haven't seen it, in my personal opinion. And that's just for me. And you look at the stats here with his team back in Bundesliga, only 1 goal, 19 matches. He's only started 4. He's played 510 minutes. We'll look at Diego Luna in his minutes right now.
Right.
If it shows up.
Yeah, it showed up.
Okay, we got
I can relate, yes.
MLS right now, he has 9 matches, 4 goals, 1 assist. And if I'm remembering correctly, actually coming back a little bit from a small injury that he had picked up as well.
Yes, yeah. I believe that is accurate. Yes.
For me, listen, and when we talk about this type of conversation with it,
Mhm.
I do think Gio Reyna is a very good player.
Yeah.
But here's my thing with it, though. It's the thing for me when you have those situations, when you've been inconsistent in the standpoint of just not consistently starting.
Yeah.
That for me is where I think it all comes down to. Like that for me, ultimately, is just where it all plays out. Like I personally feel like, especially when it comes to consistency and performances, that has to be what it looks like. And I just have not been impressed with Gio Reyna when he has been in the U.S. men's national team in the last couple of years.
Couple of
I
other.
don't expect him to be the spark plug off the bench at all. I don't.
Yeah.
At all.
Couple of other players.
I mean,
that
I
were
guess
kind
scoring
of-
in November doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, you know who did score in
Also,
November
John,
too?
can I
Diego
share
Luna.
how stupid I am?
Wow. What's up?
Diego Luna. I'm not advocating for that multiple times. I also need to explain how stupid I am, John. So on Friday, I was obviously not working in my office because it was the first okay day in a while, and yes, it was raining outside time, and was connected to my phone's hotspot. Perfectly fine for sending emails. Apparently, my computer was still trying to connect to my phone's hotspot today instead of my
that'll do
actual.
It.
So again, the lesson is,
dude, it's
don't use Restream on a phone. I think that's the lesson.
Well,
That'll
you can, but they tell you to use certain browsers depending on your phone. It's like if you have an iOS, they want you to go through Safari.
Yeah, you go through Safari for an iPhone. And I will say though, I've had times where I've been in the car using my phone and like my phone will like low key overheat. It'll be like, hey, I need you to stop. And I'm like, no.
So
I'm like, why is my internet not working? And it keeps connecting to my phone's hotspot. I'm like, oh, that's why.
Yes, it's a Monday.
Oh, happy Memorial Day.
Yes. So there were another couple of names, and since we are chivalrous here, we're going to go ladies first. Another couple of names that were not a part of this rundown. You mentioned Aiden Morris. You mentioned you mentioned the Luna discussion and the double negative that Bart is trying to avoid in this conversation. It's not that he didn't want him. It's just that there are others in his mind that are better. He didn't not want him, basically, is what Bart is saying. No Tanner Tessman. And then obviously we talked about no Johnny Cardoso. Tanner Tessman gets a muscle strain 2 weeks ago. It is not known if that was injury related as to why he's excluded. 29 league matches for Lyon, starting 22 of them. And then there was outside of lane 8, you were looking at Xavier Gozo, who was like a late name that was to be added to the discussion. But, yet to appear for the senior MNT, was on the U20 World Cup. He's worked with RSL. I know we've gone down the Luna rabbit hole, Maddie, but then you look at somebody like Tessman or Aiden Morris. Were those folks that were not in the normal discussion? Was there anybody else that you thought was omitted that could have made a case?
I mean, I'll go back. Bart made a point, and I agree with him. I think, especially when you look at the balance of the roster, I do think maybe having someone like an Aiden Morris would have helped, especially maybe more on the defensive side. I thought he played well, especially with the matches we saw in March. I thought he played pretty well. I understand why maybe he wasn't added, and I understand that. I agree, especially with the imbalance, I think, of how it's looking in certain areas. Now, listen, we say this in like Weston McKennie can play anywhere on the field. So like, honestly, at this rate, if you want to put him anywhere, he'll play somewhere. So I full trace and trust in Weston McKennie. I think he's been outstanding. But I think Gozo, I heard that one and I wouldn't have been upset about it. Gozo's been he's a great talent. Like truly, that one is not necessarily a shock to me. It's one where it's like, oh, if it happened, I would have been like, ooh, okay, fancy. Like, I would have been like, oh, this is exciting. But I knew that he wouldn't, just because you hadn't seen him make a senior national team cap yet in that capacity. And I don't know if you would put a whole bunch of like big trust in that yet. But definitely, listen, further down the road, he's going to get some call-ups with the senior national team. He is just that good. Like, he's very good. Yeah, I mean, there really weren't any others that I was like, oh man, like, I mean, Tanner Tessman, but I do think that is an injury, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Unless something else is sent out into the ether. I don't know. I'm just here. I just here. So
it's
I
a
don't know.
Monday just here.
Yeah, like that's my thing with it, is I would have thought that would have been the case, but who knows? But I mean, yeah, I mean, other than that, like, it's more or less for me, especially when you're looking at it, I'm curious to see how everything shapes out. And also too, like, what the 11 would look like, honestly, when we're looking ahead to Paraguay in a couple of weeks' time for the opening match. Who's going to be situated? How is this all going to shape out?
17 days before the cup competition that the world will be chasing after. So, Bart, were there any other names coming at a lane 8 that might have been drifting into this alleged, possible, probable, perhaps list that we're going to be seeing tomorrow in New York City?
So this is very nitpicky. So that kind of, to me, does show that for the most part, this roster was pretty correct.
Okay.
I would have brought Schulte over Brady. I think Brady is a much better shot stopper, but I do think Schulte, having played in international tournaments before, obviously started all 4 matches for the U.S. Back in 2022 or 2024 at the Olympics. That would have just been one that I think, if I were making the decision, I'd rather Schulte, who just has more experience in continental competitions, international competitions. I mean, he's been with Columbus winning or playing in CONCACAF Cup finals. He's obviously been to the Olympics and was the starter there. That would have been my only other change. And then, look, I had on my roster 2 guys that were very, very, very long shots. The first one is Noki Banks, who was, I think, again, it was a long shot. I don't think he's ready to commit. That's fine. I just think he is better than some of the other guys that we have. If we're bringing 5 center backs, none of whom outside of Chris Richards spark particular confidence, why not give that guy a call? But, again, I think that's more about his own decision. And then I understand why he's not there. He and Mauricio Pochettino clearly just have some differences. But Yunus Musa, who has, if you're looking at me and telling me, hey,
Ooh,
I
didn't even
be
think
playing
about
a kind of a 3-4-3. Yeah. He to me seems like a perfect partner to Tyler Adams that allows Weston McKennie to play a little further up the field, or is just a backup to McKennie or someone like that. We haven't seen him, though, as a central midfielder under Pochettino. Pochettino kept putting him on the right, like a lot of bad coaches do. The only coach who put him in the center is a good coach, and that's Greg Berhalter. Don't quote me on that. But, I think that's where we've seen him at his best, is in that central midfield role for this USMNT. And I think it's very ego-driven why he isn't in the squad, and that goes on both ends of conversation.
Not a shock. But yeah, Yunus Musa was someone that I had not, Maddie, to your reaction. That was one of the names. It's like, oh yeah. And the fact that Yunus Musa isn't in this discussion is kind of crazy.
It's kind of crazy that we have a guy playing for a Serie A team. I mean, he's in the Gio Reyna situation of not playing a whole lot. I think he made a bad mistake on where to go for his club career, both of them. But I mean, the fact that you would even consider not bringing a guy playing for a Serie A club and a guy who recently, was still starting for a lot of those top club teams is a little, like, that's kind of crazy to me. Just saying.
Yes. Maddie, last word to you.
Oh, to me. Oh gosh. I will say the one that I was very happy to see, because I really honestly did like the center back pairing when we played Portugal back in March. I really liked that center pairing with Richards and Trusty. I really thought Trusty had a really good showing in March. Because he was one that I was curious to see, like, how that would shape out. I really like Austin Trusty, I think, in that back line. Like, if we're going by, especially if we're going to keep it as that 4-3-3, how we kind of saw it against Portugal, maybe, I I would be completely fine. You're gonna it's gonna be Jedi and then Sergio Dest. I honestly would be completely fine with it being Richards and Trusty. I have full faith in that. I think they would be a very good pairing because I thought they played really well in the matchups we saw in March.
I'm still trying to figure out how you don't put a man bun on a bobblehead. That's just me.
You don't?
Apparently, Charlotte was having a man bunless Tim Ream for their bobblehead.
Oh no!
Yeah, I'm still trying to.
I feel like you need to have that. That's like trademarked.
This is what I'm saying. But apparently,
the man bun should be the bobble part.
Now
that's funny.
That would be strong. If you could bobble the man bun section on a Tim Ream bobblehead, that would be epic. And speaking of Charlotte, Will Saha said his goodbyes after his 18-month loan. His wife had actually said goodbye somewhat previous on her Instagram account, and Will Saha is now headed back to Galatasaray, I believe, the 18-month loan. Peace out, Boy Scout. Bart, what's going on at Soccer for USPod? Are you going to be monitoring the Made for TV event tomorrow?
Yeah, we were debating that actually in the chat that I have with the other guys that I kind of record with, of like, should we record today, being Monday, because we have the roster, or should we wait for Tuesday? Now, also, Maddie, we did talk about a little bit. Testman may be an injury sub. I think we will get answers from Pochettino, hopefully. So I think we're going to wait a little bit to get some answers. There are rumors on the USMNT Twitter sphere that Testman wasn't an injury snub. I find that hard to believe.
I agree.
To be real honest.
I agree.
But I think we're going to wait until we get some answers. And to be also fair, as we've kind of picked up the habit, look, guys had to play games this weekend. Who knows?
True.
If all 26 of these players actually finish the weekend healthy.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Light a candle, say prayer. I didn't see anything that would indicate that. But, I mean, we talked about Chris Richards and the E-stim he's getting, and, all the ice baths and the massages he's hopefully getting for that ankle injury.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still think no matter what, you got to bring him. If he can play 3 games, if he can play 2 games, if he can play 1 game, I think you got to bring him. But, you just don't know what's happening. So we are recording Wednesday evening to finally give our takes on all this, because I think we want to wait for some answers and the final roster, because there could be changes, not sneakily. Because, all right, John, we didn't talk about this. I am sorry. I'm going to rant about this. I apologize.
No worries.
And I'm saying this because I know Maddie is a professional reporter herself, so I'm just sticking up for her ilk as someone who has also been.
Okay. Yeah, go for it. Bart. I know where you.
Yes, it is a leak, but there were people calling that unprofessional and unfair to U.S. Soccer and Fox specifically. Like, I give a shit about Fox broadcast.
There's the E rating for your Monday. There you go.
Sorry, happy Memorial Day. Like, I care about their ratings. The players were emailed. Mm-hmm. Which, first off, that was shocking news I read this morning. They were emailed, not called. But anyway, it's not the reporter's job to not go find the information and sit on it. These players were called or notified on Friday, and you wanted to wait until Tuesday to announce the roster in today's age of media. That is dumb. It is not the reporter's fault that they got the information that they're supposed to go get as reporters. This is the least harmful information you could ever get. It's U.S. Soccer and Fox's, another explicit, dumbass idea to wait 4 days for a 1-hour broadcast and a 3-hour party to reveal the roster. Just do it on Friday, bruh.
Or don't email people
or don't make it a secret roster reveal, right? Be like, hey, this is going to be the player introduction party type thing or something. There are so many ways you can still do the BS 1-hour, fill time on TV. Don't get mad at reporters for reporting, for investigating, for doing the journalism. Don't get mad at them for that. This is crazy that people are mad at them for that.
Yeah. So Bart, as always, we will be listening for the Soccer for US POD. Maddie, hang out for another minute or two. So we will enjoy the midweek taping, and we will continue to roll with you. Was it 145 coming up next? Is that right? Episode 145, 146?
Yes, 145. Yeah.
Round numbers. Cool.
Actually, no, it's 146. It's 146. You're right.
All right. So 146 coming up.
All right.
Yes. So be good, my friend. I'm glad that we figured out your hotspot deal, and now that you're back to your home internet as opposed to the hotspot off your phone inside a concrete encased imitation palatial estate. So it's always very good. Be good, my friend.
Memorial Day Monday.
It's a Monday. I know. Don't worry about it. I made a rookie mistake to start the whole damn show off. Be good, Bart. We'll see you soon.
Bye, y'all.
And there goes Bart. Maddie, really quickly, what did you think about the idea that the names came out on Friday for a Tuesday release party for something that's going to be happening for a made-for-TV event, and the names came out early, allegedly, possibly, probably, for the roster?
Yeah, I mean, listen, like it happens. I mean, it's one of those situations about it. I mean,
if you want to be secretive, be more secretive.
Yeah, I mean, well, because I mean, you look at Brazil, and I mean, Brazil, their announcement, I mean, none of the players knew at all. They found out with everybody else at that conference. I mean, like, you saw the reactions of, I mean, Neymar specifically. Like, I mean, like, if that is, I think, where we wanted to go with it, then do that. Then don't, like, if that's the case, like, and I could be wrong. I actually don't know, like, how the Brazil one was done. Just from me watching it, it seemed like it literally was, like, none of the players knew. They were watching
Ancelotti had the envelope, and it was like right here. You know, it's like he's hanging on.
Like so for me, like if you wanted to do something like that, then you don't notify and you just wait until Tuesday and you release it right then and there and let that happen. Now here's my thing when it comes to this roster stuff. I know, and listen, I have no idea how the inner workings of all this works, if anything like that. I would like to know before it does get released, in the sense of like, hey, if we're doing this big show and if I'm a player, I would like to know before it goes out. That way, you know, like whatever happens, you know, you can process it, do whatever. But I will say, like, the fact that it was leaked, it's just one of those things that I think, especially with everything else, it happens. I mean,
well, was it leaking, or was it just people telling people? You know, I mean, it's like
that's the other thing. That's the other thing. I'm not for sure. I mean, like, especially with getting the entire roster of it, like it would be one where it was like, hey, I've heard whispers of this person being in, this person not being in, but it's the entire roster. So I don't know. Yeah, it's rough.
The twos on the weekend. I know, you know, I can't let you go without having a twos discussion. Twos get another goal on the board from Arif Kovac, and it was in Philly. It was not in Subaru Park. They're actually playing on the side fields this year. There's like this big complex of fields that are for like union leagues and things like that. And the one that actually has like the stand for a camera and such is where they play. They play on field 1 next to Subaru Park. It was 50-something degrees. You had a 10 to 20 mile an hour wind that was a crosswind going from right to left, or upper right to lower left, the entire time. And it was, and I'll just say it right now, we've got to come up with a name for me when I'm either with you on a broadcast or I'm doing a solo, where I was having my own share of Maddie meltdowns. And we got to come up with a name for it, because I had my share of Maddie meltdowns, and it ended up as a 2-1 loss on the road for the twos, who now have a week off before they go back to home matches in June in Athens. But yeah, we got to come up with a name for my version of Maddie meltdown.
Oh,
so that's just food.
I don't know why my first thought was like, like I'm trying to think of like play on words.
Yeah.
Because I know Jared has also coined Crash Out Cruise.
Yeah, so that's something like, you know, something of a Maddie meltdown or Crash Out Cruise for me. So we got to figure that one out.
But yeah, so now, John, I have a question for you.
Yeah, I'll see if
I know that the US, like, and all this stuff, that roster is going to be starting at 3 p.m.
Sure.
Wait, no, then never mind. My question's dumb then. Ignore it. I'm being
Why?
stupid. No, I'm being dumb. Ignore me. I don't know
Okay.
why my mind it's a morning, guys. It's
Yeah,
fine.
it's a Monday. No, it's
It's a Monday, guys.
yeah.
It's a Monday, everything's fine. But yes.
Yeah, and it's a holiday. It's a holiday Monday as well.
Yes.
What are you up to this week before we try and wheel you in and reel you in on weekly bases on Mondays during the World Cup break?
Oh, well, I mean, still working, especially today, going to be working on our little round Road to 26 Nation by Nation series on SDH.
Yes. If you haven't seen those, go see those.
Yeah, actually, it's been my bad. I've been a little bit behind on a couple of things on posting them on YouTube, and that's on me. But hey, we're getting that done today. That's a whole plan for me today. We're working. So gonna be knocking a lot of those out. Basically, I go through every single one of the teams, give you a bit of a little like 60-second spiel about some of the big talking points that involve with them and kind of what that's looking like.
Trying to cram in 60 seconds is hard.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll give you a little bit of like it's difficult. It is rough. I sit there sometimes. It's rough. But anyway, it's actually funny. I wanted to try to get maybe the US one done because actually we are on Group D right now. The last one, Ivory Coast, is going out today for Group B. So tomorrow is Group D. And it's me trying to figure out, okay, when am I going to record the US men's one? Because I wanted to do it today, but now I can't. So that will be recorded probably tomorrow after everything is announced for the USMNT. But yeah, I mean, we're just working on that stuff, getting things rolling. Because listen, the World Cup, it's literally almost here, and it's really surreal to think about that's actually going to happen. But I'm really excited. A lot of good stuff. I'm actually going to the beach this week for a quick little reset. And then I'm back for 3 days, and then I'm flying to Chicago to go cover the U.S. men's national team in Chicago for the send-off game, and then we're kicking it for World Cup.
Yeah. So so basically, what Maddie just said. Where is it? Did I didn't blow that out, did I? And well, no. It's like I had like since you were talking about it, and it was the first time that it was divulged on this show. I was trying to come up with. I was trying to find
just giving like be like, hey guys, this is the behind the scenes of
So she divulged that, and I finally found it. It was way down the list. Breaking news. Courtesy. Well, that was you. It was the breaking news that you were going to Chicago for the send-off game. That was.
Oh yes. I am going to the send-off game. I'm very excited. It'll be fun. I love Chicago. My best friend ever lives up there, so I'm really excited to go. So it's like a 2-for-1. I get to go see my friend, but I also am doing work and covering the U.S. men's national team, and it'll be a good game. It'll be a good opportunity to see, especially because we will know the roster. By this point, it'll be a really good opportunity, especially too with everything having to be finalized by June 1st for the World Cup. It'll be our first few times actually seeing the entire team of what it is going to be for the World Cup. So really exciting stuff. It's going to be fun. I'm excited.
Yes. So go and get your, how many cups of coffee are you on?
I'm actually on none. So I got to go get one. I know. I'm like, it's bad. I need one.
Okay. Well, then go get one. And then we'll catch up with you. Actually, I know that we have some actual meetings that we've got to do tomorrow and such. But go get your coffee, get your taping done, and we'll catch up with you on the flip side. Thanks for crashing this morning.
Absolutely. I'll talk to y'all later.
There goes Maddie Crews. Maddie Crews on the ones and twos, and she is out the door. And for her, she keep an eye out on the YouTube channel because the 60-second shorts that we have with all of the national teams that are getting ready to take on the world. So keep an eye out there. And if you haven't followed us on social media, go ahead and do that on all of the social media platforms that are there. At Soccer Down Here for all of them. And you get to keep an eye out. We're going to be busier than you know what on during the World Cup. It is going to be spots. I believe Jason is going to be on at 8:40 most Monday through Fridays. Starting, I think, in 2 weeks, it's going to be Atlanta Soccer Tonight every night. 92.9 The Game, Odyssey app. It's going to be on social media channels and platforms. Obviously, we're going to be here every morning, so that isn't going to change. We are going to be adding weekend hours. So it's probably going to be like on Saturdays at 9 and Sundays at 9. SDH weekend is going to get you started there. So when AST goes 7 days a week, then we're going to go 7 days a week. It'll be a power hour, I think, on weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays, to get you started with your day from 9:05 to 10:05, and it'll probably go longer than that. But SDH AM is going to go 7 days a week during the World Cup, and AST is going to go for nightly starting in not this week but next. So the beginning of next week, the beginning of June, AST is going to go nightly, 92.9 The Game, Odyssey app and socials. SDH AM is going to go daily, 7 days a week when the tournament kicks in as well. So we're not going anywhere. We're going to be doing more. We're going to be all over the place and talking about all the official things. So 7 days a week starting next week, and we'll roll it out from there as we get you into the tournament and as we go. A couple of other things. SOT is going to be back tonight. Like I said, there's like 19,000 things we've got to get into, everywhere from Argentina to the Eredivisie to the promotions right now going on in the English Pyramid, the EFL Pyramid right now. Notts County leading Salford City 2-0 as they get ready for the second half. Winner of that one gets promoted into League One for next year. Second division side in Portugal knocks off Sporting to win the Portuguese Cup. Now they're in Europa League qualies. Torino, Juve, Napoli, Riquelme, Belgrano, all the things. But just to give you an idea as to what else has been going on this morning, it is Barcelona set for talks this week with Manchester United to try and agree to a deal for Marcus Rashford. Personal terms are in place, waiting for a club-to-club solution. Manchester United consistently has told Barca to pay the 30 million euro release clause. Busy day for our buddy Ben Jacobs, by the way. Napoli have confirmed Antonio Conte has left the club, so Napoli's going to be looking for a manager. And there is a meeting, I believe, either scheduled or ongoing right now, before we came on the air, where West Ham is trying to figure out the future of Nuno Espirito Santo. And odds are it is looking like he is going to be sacked, but we'll keep an eye on that and let you know about all of that that is going on as well. If you have not subscribed to Morning Espresso, I would recommend you do so. Thanks to our friends at Oglethorpe University for being great partners with that. It's Jason's newsletter that comes out every morning, and it gives you deep cuts into a couple of stories. And then it gives you a lot of the headlines that you might have missed in the overnight, and gives you an opportunity to have it in written form. And sometimes, Jason, keep an eye out on socials for the video and or audio versions of that as well. Morning Espresso brought to us by our friends at Oglethorpe University. Also, a couple of other things really quickly. Iran relocating the World Cup training base from Tucson to Tijuana after FIFA has approved the transfer. The Iranian Federation cited visa problems for support staff as the reason for the move. And so now Tijuana is 45 minutes by a plane from LA, where they open up against New Zealand, Belgium, and Saudi Arabia. And New Zealand and Belgium. Saudi Arabia has a pre-tournament complication. Defender Saad Abdul Hamid had his passport stolen during a break-in in Amsterdam where he was attending. Guy was getting married, and he had his passport stolen in Amsterdam. So the Saudi Fed is coordinating with Dutch and Saudi authorities to get him the documents he needs so he can go in. Apparently, Panini is being apparently counterfeited. 200,000 stickers were found in Nova Iguaçu last week. Now you also have, we talked about the Femenil. Utah Royals, and you can make this claim that since Jarrett started covering the Royals, they've been on this win streak. Unbeaten run to 9, they've won 8 of 9. And we talked about Wilf Zaha. Something to keep an eye out and just have as like a second device. If you missed the conversation that we had with the Director of Methodology, Javier Perez, And it was really cool to catch up with him and Colby Childress, the head coach of Atlanta United's U16s. MLS Next Cup is going on in Salt Lake City this week. 4 teams are competing from Atlanta United's academy. U16s, U18s, both won on the weekend. U16s won over Cedar Stars Academy Bergen. U18s beat Indy 11s, U19s. And so they play again today. You can catch this on MLS Soccer's YouTube channel out in Salt Lake. U13s and 14s go out on Thursday, or they start on Thursday, against Cincinnati United and Weston FC. And both younger squads earn top bracket berths through quality of play scores. So first time in club history, all 4 academy levels competing in the MLS playoffs at the same time. So keep an eye out on that. Cruz Azul, that's another thing. Rotondi scored in the 95th minute. If you haven't heard that goal, we'll probably play that for SOT tonight. We mentioned Como. We mentioned Conte. Mamelodi Sundowns won the AFCON League. It was 1-1 in the reverse fixture, 2-1 in the aggregate. Ronald Williams saved a second-half penalty to preserve the match on a questionable call that set up the PK in the first place. Underdog Global Partners has made an offer in the region of 2 billion euro to acquire Napoli from Aurelio De Laurentiis, according to The Athletic. And we mentioned Torrense as well. So that is kind of part of what we get into for the SOT tonight. And I'm trying to see if there's anything else that is going on. Oh, yeah, we got to get into what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Obviously, when we're done here, you can catch the second half of the last League One team to go, the last League Two playoff final to get into League One. It is what is going on? Okay, so Scottish Premiership playoffs at 3, also on Golasso, St. Mirren and Partick Thistle. Same is going to be simulcast on Paramount Plus. Oh, my Paramount Plus question. Are you guys having the same buffering issues that I am? If it's the larger the television, the longer the buffering. If I play it on a computer, it's fine. Just asking. Promotion relegation playoffs in the Bundesliga, the 220 on the Plus. YouTube has your action in MLS Next Cup, 4:45 and 7 in U15s and U19s, and that gets you through today. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We will let you know what's going on there, and it wouldn't surprise me if my TV froze, because that's another thing that happens with Paramount Plus. Spurs stayed up, West Ham went down, and we'll get into the Premier League as well tonight on SOT. Your trending rumors: Gazzetta dello Sport claims Milan will be looking at AC Milan looking at major changes after the club failed to get a spot in Champions League. 2-1 home defeat to Cagliari on Sunday. Allegri likely to depart. Futures of Pulisic, Modric, Rabiot, Leao, Loftus-Cheek, and Tomori up in the air as Milan need to recoup around €100 million to beat financial gaps. Real Madrid midfielder Aurelien Tchouameni considered a dream signing by Manchester United, according to Fabrizio Romano. United hierarchy reportedly believed Tchouameni could have a similar impact to Casemiro, though any deal could cost upwards of €100 million. Kobe Mainoo turned down £40 million to move to Chelsea in the summer. Mainoo doing well under Michael Carrick, having struggled under Amorim. Chelsea inquired about a permanent deal at the end of last year. The player turned it down. Chelsea had no intention of letting striker Joao Pedro leave this summer, despite growing interest from Barcelona, according to Fabrizio Romano. Did not make the final squad for Brazil in the 26 World Cup, viewed as an ideal replacement for Robert Lewandowski at the Camp Nou. No fee will tempt the Blues into discussions. Cole Palmer viewed as both he and Pedro as stars to rebuild around Xabi Alonso's project. Football Insider claims Chelsea willing to ramp up contract talks with Levi Caldwell to fend off any interest. Andy Robertson expected to join Spurs. Times claims that the Scotland international ready to join on a free contract coming to an end this summer. Linked with the move back in January, stayed with the Reds, given a guard of honor from his teammates during their draw with Brentford. Spurs also prepared to let Christian Romero leave, according to Team Talk. Atletico de Madrid and Barcelona linked with a move for the Argentina international, signed a long-term deal with Spurs last year. Other rumors: Ekrem Konur, Liverpool made a €120 offer to Leipzig for Yan Diomande. 4-letter paper: United, Arsenal, PSG keen on Mateus Fernandes from West Ham, but the relegation club are demanding an £80 million fee. Good luck. Fnatic, Randall Colomawani returning to PSG after a poor loan spell at Spurs. Fenerbahce monitoring. Fabrizio Romano, Gonzalo Ramos could leave PSG this summer. Some background work already underway over an exit for the striker. Football Insider, Manchester City planning new contract talks with Rodri amid interest from Real Madrid. Abola has Spurs lining up a move for Benfica keeper Anatoly Trubin in the summer. Atalanta midfielder Ederson verbally agreed to a 5-year deal with United, according to our buddy Ben Jacobs. Forest readying a move for Middlesbrough's Hayden Hackney after Borough failed to secure a return to the Premier League and they lost to Hull. RMC has Maxence Lacroix possibly playing his last match for Crystal Palace. Top, in quotation marks, European clubs and English sides considering a €40 million move. Romano again. Rangers have agreed to a deal to sign Hearts captain Lawrence Shankland, 30-year-old striker set to join his boyhood club on a free. Wow, Hearts not getting anything for Shankland. A meeting has been scheduled between AC Milan and Leon Goretzka's reps. The Serie A club ready to offer a deal until 29 for the Bayern Munich star, leaving the Bundesliga champs on a free. Ekrem Konur, lastly. Jonathan David set to leave Juve in the summer. Newcastle, Villa, Leeds, Brighton, Palace showing interest for the striker. Now, I think that's all of the domestic news. We'll get into MLS tomorrow. Keeler Hodges set to join us for the 30 days in USL to get into. USL Super League final is going to be this weekend. We are efforting response from both clubs. Carolina Ascent at Lexington. That's going to be the USL Super League final, and that is going to be coming up this weekend as well. We got to talk about Spokane with Keeler, and we're also efforting word out of Spokane because there have been some stories that were posted on the Spokesman Review that paint a bit of a troubled entry when it came to the Zephyr in the USL Super League. They were the only team west of Dallas in the league at present. They were the most far western club, and by far it was, literally they were detached from everything else. Their closest opponent was Dallas. But there are also some other financial things to get into, and so we'll talk to Keeler about USL stuff. We'll talk to him about that tomorrow. Should be the return of Casey White at 10 o'clock tomorrow because she has been busy. NWSL and MLS. And we'll get into that next time that we see Casey. Obviously, we're efforting everybody else. Yep, it froze. So, yeah. So then Abby, that's why I was asking. Abby's like, yeah, I've noticed it since you got a new TV. Only bigger, but yes, on Paramount Plus and the buffering. So, yeah. So So when we're done here, I'll go back and watch the second half because it froze on an ad. All right. So we'll get there. Before we go, and thanks for your forbearance on all of this stuff, and especially for me being a jackass in the first 5 minutes and not looking at the microphone not working. Today is Memorial Day. And for those of you that do not know, or this might be your first time hanging out with me on SDH AM on a Memorial Day, this is a story that I tell every Memorial Day on purpose. And my grandfather, and it reminds us about what this day really is all about, at least from my perspective. I know that you may have your own personal stories and perspectives, but I always like to share this story on Memorial Day specifically. My grandfather was, when he was active in the military, he was, by the time his career was over, Army Air Corps. He was OSS, which was the predecessor to the CIA. He was Battle of Britain, battles in North Africa. He loved General Patton, was not a fan of General Eisenhower, knew Jimmy Doolittle of the Flying Tigers. And he would always tell stories of his time in those theaters. He was active in the wind tunnels at the Arnold Engineering Development Center in Tullahoma, Tennessee, in his 40s, when he wanted to give back to his country when they were in war in Korea. And it was, he wanted to be active in Vietnam, but they told him he was too old. At that time, he would have been in his 50s and late 50s at that point. So he was, in his tenure, the youngest ever to become bird colonel in the Army Air Corps. But because he really didn't mince words, pretty much told people what he thought, wasn't big in playing the political games inside the military, he would remain the youngest to ever become a bird colonel in the Army Air Corps because of all of that. And he would tell us stories about the Battle of Britain, where he was, one flight in particular, where he was coming in and he was going to be landing in a British air base. And the Nazis would jam the frequencies of the Allies, and they would drift in and they would say, they would welcome. Literally what they would do is they knew who the flights were. They were going into Britain to land, and they would say, well, welcome, battalion, squadron, and they would name them. And they would name all the planes and, all the flights and everything. And they would always end their transmission with, and we will be seeing you soon. He would always tell that story. Then in North Africa, and this was in like Algeria, he and some other friends of his who were bird colonels at the time, they were there and they didn't have any transportation. And so Algeria being the port that it had, it was where the Allies in the United States, they would bring all the cargo ships and they would unload all the jeeps and all of the transportation that was needed for the forces there to battle in North Africa. And I mean, these are rows and rows and rows of jeeps, and they're just, as far as the eye could see. My grandfather and his fellow bird colonel, one day when they're going up and down these rows, and they didn't have any transportation. So my grandfather, raises his hand. He goes, "Hey, Private, there's my Jeep." Private, might be 18, probably more like 16. And he's there. He's fresh. He's freshly minted, and he's there in North Africa, and he's supposed to guard all of these Jeeps. And so when a bird colonel goes to you, a buck private that is just there to guard these Jeeps, you're not going to tell a bird colonel no. So the buck private's basically like, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yeah, yes, sir, yes, go ahead. And then his friend, who is the other bird colonel, he'd sit there and go, "Hey, Private, this one's my Jeep." And so he points at this Jeep. And so, of course, the private sitting there, "Yes, sir, yes, sir." And so they would take the two Jeeps, which they weren't theirs, but, they kind of hornswoggled the buck private, and they would drive them around in Algeria. And then when they ran out of gas, they'd just abandon them because, well, they weren't theirs. Those are really the only stories he would tell. He would talk a little bit about the wind tunnels and what it was like there and how he wanted to continue to re-enlist, but then they wouldn't let him. He wouldn't go into the stories that you would have liked to have heard just from remembering what war did in the 1940s. And we're talking 80 years ago now that you think about it. He wouldn't tell those stories. You'd ask him, well, hey, what about this, or this? And he'd be like, it's all right. He wouldn't go into detail. And it would be that stark reminder. And yes, we did lose those conversations because my grandfather didn't want to talk about them. As much as we wanted to record them, to have them for posterity and pay them forward, he didn't want to talk about them, and understandably so. And I know that we see movies, and we'll see those movies that are today. They'll be on any kind of channel that you like on a day like today. Those movies will be up and running. They'll be up and running all day. And there are a few that are of the characterization and color that are about as close to those stories that my grandfather didn't want to tell. So we all have, from there going forward, we all have those parts of our family and our friends that have served and are still serving, or are those who are about to serve. And I can pretty much guarantee that it doesn't take a whole lot of steps to be connected to a family that has experienced loss serving our country. So what I would ask every day, reinforced today, is that you take a couple of seconds and remember what it takes to have what we have today. With all the things that are going on, all the things we talk about on a daily basis, where we are and what we have, just take a couple of seconds. And if it comes to mind to reach out to those people that are directly affected or are being affected by having folks serving in a far theater, just give them a thought today, give them a thought every day, but take today and maybe reach out a little more. And save a thought for those that have folks who have served and don't have those folks coming home. Because that is the ultimate sacrifice that has gotten us to where we are in this greatest experiment on this or any other planet when it comes to forming a nation. So just in addition to the meals and the time with friends and the time off and all of that, take a little time and think about those that are serving the ultimate sacrifice today and every day. Because without them, we wouldn't be able to have these conversations that we're having on a daily basis. We wouldn't be able to talk about the things we want to talk about. Remember those who've served. Remember those who are serving. And have a thought for those families who are about to have someone leave for the first time. Because that is a responsibility that I don't know if I could hang on to it. For me, it's hearing about the stories and remembering them so you don't forget them. But for those who are going to be experiencing it for the first time, those are steps down a path that very few of us by percentage ever get the knowledge to have going forward. So just think about those folks today. Think about them every day, but think about them a little more today here on Memorial Day, and remember what it's all about. Back at it tonight for soccer over there. 8 o'clock might be a little early. We'll go over what happened. I know that I've won 2 of 8, and I did not get the tiebreaker, but we'll be back at it tonight for soccer over there. 9:05 tomorrow morning. We'll go over the rest of what happened in Major League Soccer, and we should have the return of Casey White. 10 o'clock hour, in addition, Keeler Hodges for the last 30 days in USL. We'll talk Spokane. We'll talk Super League Championship. We'll talk Championship, and we'll talk League One as he drops by at 10:30 because he's out of school. He doesn't have to be teaching. So we get to have Keeler live at 10:30 tomorrow morning. So that starts our week, and it's the regular guests as we go, and we're going to be tracking down other things and championships and all of that because World Cup's 17 days away. 17 days away for the World Cup. We'll be back at it tonight for SOT because we got a lot of stuff to talk about in the OT part. It is second half, and when my Paramount decides to unfreeze, I'm going to have to go log back in. But Notts County had a 2-0 lead on Salford City as they're trying to get to League One. So for everybody here, to all of you out there, may Memorial Day be what you wish it to be. Mucha Platiel played safe. We'll catch up with you tonight for another round of soccer over there. Since it's the end of the show, thanks to Maddie, thanks to Bart, thanks to Abe, thanks to all of y'all. It means we get to do this. We'll catch up with you tonight.